The Espo Eagles are back in the playoffs, and the talking point surrounding the team, of course, has been whether or not we've made the right moves at the right time involving the right people. We've had the ability, unlike early on in the series, to make some major moves. The trade to acquire Tuomas Hikola and, of course, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the top goaltender in the game. We've had the ability to bring on big-time free agents like Mikko Rantanen and Patrick Laine. But again, whether or not it's all been the right thing to do, whether or not we have built a team that can find success in the playoffs, whether right now or in the next few years, that remains to be seen. We have had some success in this series, but not what we're ultimately after, which is, of course, winning a championship. And if we look at this team here, I don't know if we're capable of winning a cup. With that top six, you would like to think so. That third line is pretty damn good. Of course, this will be Kasper Bjorkqvist's final few games on this team. Whether or not we only survive 4 games or 24, it will be the final few games for Bjorkqvist with this team. It's such a weird spot that we find ourselves in. And that was a big talking point for the last episode too, is whether or not we were doing the right thing, making the right moves at the right time. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, this series wasn't restricted to just building up with prospects. We had the ability to go out and get already established prospects or players, and of course to acquire guys who are going to develop into top-notch players. Luukkonen's the best example of that. Whether or not we find success, who knows? Of course, changes can be made in the next few seasons. I'm sure it will be a very interesting offseason, one way or another, regardless of how long this postseason run lasts. This is the team that we are up against here in the first round, and it's an interesting one at the very least. 35-year-old Andre Palat. Of course, right now the stats don't matter, but you have Andre Palat, Anton Lundell, who I believe was an 89 overall, of course, one of the players that I was hoping to get in the draft once upon a time. That did not happen. And Nikita Kucherov, at 32 years old, still a 92 overall. Second line, Dylan Sikora at 30 years old. He's an 81, but pretty well-rounded in the attribute department. Steven Stamkos now at 36 years old, 83 overall. And Cam Atkinson at 36 years old as well. It's a very interesting second line. It makes me wonder if they're going to change that, because the third line is even better in almost every way. 85 overall, Kiefer Bellows at this point, Taylor Radish, and Niels Höglander. The fourth line, Nick Ritchie, Marcus Granlund, now at 32 years old, and Josh Anderson. It's a very well-rounded team. Atkinson being a 78 seems a bit weird, but pretty strong offense. The defense, and it doesn't get any easier for us, does it? Mikhail Sergachev at 27 years old. Victor Hedman at 35, but he's still a beast of a 90 overall. It's ridiculous. Second pairing, Steve Pittis, a former 10th overall selection in 2019. A player who would not have been available to us, which is unfortunate. I think that's one thing, too, that you take a look at. Early on, the early stages of this series, who was available to us in the draft, certainly played a factor. My boy, Nick Hague, an 84 overall, rebuilding Hockeytown legend. Ryan Shea and Cal Foote round out that defense. Again, is that a cup-caliber defense? Is this a cup-caliber team thus far? It is, with how the sim can go. Oh, boy. Jesper Wallstedt, 23 years old and 87 overall, was drafted by Tampa. They have Jay O'Brien, Ryan Strome, and Riley Smith as healthy scratches. Methinks this could be a relatively short postseason run for us. That Lightning team is outrageous, although don't put it past Tampa to crash and burn in the first round. I could sit here and debate how we're going to do. Doesn't really matter. That's not going to solve anything. We have to get right down to business. Let's get this going. Playoff time yet again for the Eagles. Where do we stand at this point? We're about to find out. First period of game 1. I think I accidentally hit B. No, I didn't. Okay, good. So I didn't accidentally finish the game Although one would argue the game's already over. We're down 3-0. Kucherov, and Lundell. That top line rips us to shreds. 12 shots to 5. We're down 3-0. Second period, this game is over. Wow. Not exactly what I would have expected or hoped for to begin this series. A power play goes to waste, and unless we have a crazy comeback here, Tampa's going to cruise to a victory in Game 1. Power play chance for them. They can't take advantage of it, but Wallstead is a beast. Ville Husso did end up replacing Luukkonen. He finally gets beat by Stamkos, but that's it. And for a team that was entering the playoffs with a lot of question marks, despite having a pretty strong roster, suffering a 4-0 defeat in Game 1 on the road, that is a backbreaker. That is devastating. A 25-save shutout for Wallstead. Said that Tampa team, was going to give us just a little bit of trouble. They gave us a whole lot of trouble in Game 1. That is the only way to describe it. And I don't know what to do or what to expect in Game 2. I mean, they say you're not in trouble until you lose on home ice. We are in desperate need of a victory here to tie this series up. First period of Game 2, we finally get on the board with Capo, but Ritchie and Lundell gave Tampa the lead before that. We're down 2-1. But I guess on the bright side, we do find a way to beat Wallstead. Second period, we find a way to beat him a couple more times. Patrick Laine and Sebastian Repo are up 3-2. Can we hold on to it is the question, and the answer was given to me 31 seconds. Ludman ends up restoring the lead. We're back up by 1. Not too bad for the youngster. Power play opportunity, and Ludman strikes again. Tommy Ludman taking over. Another power play chance goes to waste, but we're up by 2 with under 5 minutes remaining in regulation, and it was a drastically different game. Louis with the empty netter. 6-3 is your final in Game 2. And who the hell knows how the rest of this series is going to go. All 3 stars, by the way, were Finns, including the one for Tampa. We were outscored 7-6 over the course of those 2 games. But, we split it. It's not bad. That's outrageous to think, isn't it? We lose 4-0 and then win 6-3, even with an empty net goal. That is just a very strange start to this series. Luukkonen is not having a good time right now. And of course, whether or not we should have gone for him and taken him away from a Buffalo team that was on a tremendous run, I agree that might not have been fair. However, I'm paying for it right now because his heart might still be in Buffalo. And who knows? Maybe we do the unthinkable and send him back. I don't know. But he needs to be better. I don't think we'll be changing up anything too much. Simon Teval and Rantanen have been ghosts. And unfortunately, that's not the first time that I've said that in a postseason environment. I don't know what exactly I'd prefer to change, but I know that's not good enough. Simon Teval last year in the postseason, no points, or 3 points in 6 games, which was okay. Rantanen, though, was the one who was kind of struggling early on, and then he ended up with 6 points in 6 games. Maybe I'm thinking of Kakko. Maybe he was the one who was struggling. I'm going to leave it for now because we are off the back of a 6-3 win, but obviously we have changes that could be made if necessary. Game 3 on home ice. How's that for travel? We'll see. This is anybody's game right now. First period, Tampa has the lead. Steven Stamkos. Second period, we tie it up. Brad Lambert's 29 shots to 28. A complete toss-up at this point. Drastically different from the 2 games that came before it in the series. Simon Teval with a goal. Nice to see him reward me, essentially, for not bumping him down a line. We're up 2-1. Make it 3. Simon Teval and Rantanen struggling through the first 2 games of this series. They show up. Ludman is a playoff performer. And out of nowhere, 3-0 in the third period, 4-1 final on the board. The Eagles have the lead in this series. Luukkonen shows up, 37 saves. Simon Teval and Rantanen called them out for underperforming. Slow start to the series, 2 points each. The 3 players we just talked about that we needed to step up, they all step up. And as a result, we walk away with the victory. Now, again, a 2-1 series lead in this first round matchup against Tampa. I don't see a reason to make any change. We just have to hope for the best and hope that this team can keep up this pace. First period of Game 4 is scoreless, 16 shots to 6. I consider that a victory for the Lightning and Wallstead. Second period, not quite a victory for the Lightning and Wallstead on that one. Ryan Shea gets the opening goal of the game, but we took over from there. We get our first goal from a defenseman in the series with Teravainen. Kakko scores, and then again from center ice, the wrong side of the blue line is the right side for Kaapo Kakko. 3-1. We have them doubled up in shots, more than doubled up on the scoreboard. We're 20 minutes away from winning 3 straight games and having a chance to close out this series in Tampa in Game 5. Can we get the job done? Can Luukkonen shut things down? Bjorkqvist scores before Tampa gets that first shot. Teravainen makes it 5. And the offense is just too potent. Absolutely ridiculous to see us get shut down 4-0 in Game 1. But since then, as the controller hits the floor, we have been on fire. 42 shots to 25, 5-1 final, and a 3-1 series lead will be going back with us to Tampa for Game 5. Luukkonen, Rantanen, and Kaapo Kakko stepping up in a big-time way with that 2-goal effort. And again, what a weird series it's been thus far. We were outscored 4-0. Since then, 6-3, 4-1, 5-1. Outrageous. Outrageous to be outscoring them 15-5 over the last 3 games. Never would have expected that in 1,000 years, let alone after we were shut out in Game 1. But here we are. We talked about our strength. It is in goal scoring with that top 6, that top 9, really, if you think about it. Now the time will, now time will tell. We're about to see whether or not this team has a killer instinct and whether or not we can shut down Tampa and win this series. First period of Game 5 is scoreless, 10 shots to 7 in their favor. Second period is not scoreless, a goal apiece. Arturi Lehkonen and Mikhail Sergachev. We are tied at 1 as we go to the third period. The next goal, oh so important. Can we get it is the question. And it might be until the dying minutes of the period until we have an answer as to who's going to get it. Tuomas Heikkila, the deadline day acquisition, or at least a little bit before then. Is that enough? Power play for Tampa's killed off, and the Espoo Eagles are moving on. We have eliminated Tampa in 5 games. Heikkila, who I certainly wasn't sure as to whether or not he was the right guy to acquire. That was really the main theme of the last episode. Of course, talking about the moves, showcasing the limited options that we have for top-notch defensemen. We go with Heikkila due to us, flat out being unable to acquire Olli Juolevi. It pays off. Heikkila gets the game-winning goal, the series-clinching goal. Luukkonen and company shake off a slow start to this series. We win 4 straight games, and we are moving on to round 2. That went about as well as one could have hoped. Kaapo Kakko, 8 points, 3 goals in 5 games. Simon Taival, 4 points in those 5 games, 5 points in 5 for Rantanen. The top line delivered 5 goals in 5 games between the 3 of them. Patrick Laine, 3 points, 4 points for Teuvo Teravainen, and 5 points for Brad Lambert. You'd like to see the goal scoring be a little bit higher for Laine, but you can't really complain when you walk through a first-round victory in 5 games against a team the caliber of the Lightning. Third line, Kasper Bjorkqvist, 3 points. 3 points for Samu Louis, the 18-year-old rookie. And Tommy Ludman, my God, we gave up quite a bit to trade up to get this guy. And that was one of the moves early on that was kind of, I think, the catalyst. At least it was a part of a series of moves that has led this team to be the way it is right now. And my God, is he worth it. Absolutely ridiculous. Again, the regular season, it wasn't that great. A bit of a slow start. But 5 points in 5 games. He is a playoff performer. Make no mistake about it. We go to the fourth line. Lehkonen with 2 points. 1 point for Patrick Virta. And 1 goal for Sebastian Repo. Not really complaining if our fourth line was our weakest line. On the defensive side of things, Hikola did not have a tremendous series. I mean, 1 point. The -2 is a bit rough, but he's a big minute eater. And if we take a look at how he had done, no takeaways, 6 giveaways, it's a little bit rough. But he showed up when we needed him. A very clutch goal. And again, whether or not he should be changed from a defensive D-man to a two-way, that is a debatable point. Matty Virtanen, very disappointing. It may be, I mean, it's tough to say once we just, again, won a series in 5 games. It's tough to say there should be line changes, but maybe there should be. Virtanen, nearly 26 minutes through 5 games in that series in terms of average time on ice. No points, -4. Again, plus-minus. Not a great stat by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one of the limited things we have to go off of. No hits, he's not a physical guy. Couple of blocks, the giveaway-takeaway ratio, brutal. I'm not sure if he's ready for those primetime minutes. Maybe we look to change that up. Tommy Tervainen, 2 points and a +4, 19 minutes per game. And if we look here, very physical player. Block shots are up there. Giveaways have at least been limited. Tervainen had a really good first round. Esa Kervainen as well. I mean, that second pairing is looking really good. Really good. And perhaps we'd want to leave them where they are. The blocks, not that physical, of course, but giveaway-takeaway ratio is pretty solid, all things considered. Maybe it ends up being Virtanen and Kuka on the third pairing, although with Markus Nutivaara and Matty Kuka, they both did very well. The weakest link of this defense was Matty Virtanen, so I don't know if we're going to want to have him in one of those top 2 spots, but could be the case. But Nutivaara, pretty strong. Pretty strong. I like the hit ratio and everything. Not too bad. Not too bad. We have some question marks, of course, but pretty promising. And then Lehkonen steps up big time, back up to a .931 save percentage. Well done. Well done. That's what he's capable of. And Ville Husso did his best, his damnedest to keep us in game 1, but the offense just wasn't there. So questions, of course, potential changes heading into round 2. Especially too with the lineup, I'm not sure if we'd really want to do anything. I mean, Juho Lemiko is there for a potential call-up, but of course right now the depth is a little bit questionable as we try to get some players to eventually develop. Time will tell on that front, but overall we're a strong team, strong performance in round 1. I guess the question is who we will be taking on in round 2. I believe it's going to be Buffalo or Ottawa, and we might as well get that answer before we call it an episode. It's looking like it's going to be Ottawa, and indeed it will be the Senators. They will have home ice advantage, but right now, momentum is on our side. They beat Buffalo in, I believe, 6 games. We also have Philadelphia and the Islanders over in the West, Chicago, Vancouver, Anaheim, and Dallas. I feel sorry for Buffalo in a way. If we didn't have Lehkonen, one would argue we wouldn't even be at this point in the playoffs, but say if we were, we'd be going up against Lehkonen as opposed to him being on our side. We take on Ottawa in the next episode. Let me know what you think as far as any lineup changes are concerned. And aside from that, I think we're good to go. So you know the deal. Support the video, support the channel. Leave a damn like or I'll chop you like Ric Flair. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, have a good one.